So today we have a special event. We have two brilliant poets and artists and writers here to present their work, share their work with all of us. So the first up, I'd like to introduce Edwin Torres, a Bronx-born, longtime New York City resident, combines vocal and physical improvisation with theater in his performative poetry. He is the author of several collections, including Ameriscopia, 2014, One Night, Poems for the Sleepy, 2012, Yes, A Thing, No Thing, 2011, In the Function of External Circumstances, 2010. So without further ado, please welcome Edwin Torres.
Hi everybody. More recently, I have this book, which came out 2 years ago, Conundrum, which won an award, so I'm proud of it. So I tend to, poetry for me is a way of capturing our human complexities and all the various ranges of emotions we have inside us. My poetry is kind of all over the place, and afterwards I can talk more about it, but I tend not to talk too much in between the poems. So, thank you all. And here we go. Go ahead. This is called No Yo-Yo. He's from New York, from Puerto Rico, New York. He's a New Rican, what they call a Riqueño, being new or Trigueño, speaking new or Rican. A New York-seeking New Yorker. Is he new or a porter? A port of sherry, sherry, Puerto, Yorko, Yoko, Coco, que hablas? Se habla Coco, Noco. No city, port of no city Rican. A Puerto Rico is called a Boricua. A Boricua? A boring what? A bore. This is boring. Into my yawner. What you sing? What new sing? The new say be the new city of York. A Yorkie, a pit, a bull, a toro, a Torres, a Norres, a city no, a city Yorker uncorked. A boozer, a bozo, a new bozo. Yo soy bozo in the yo zone. See, yo soy the new yo. That's the new yo, bro. Yo Rican, see, soy no Rican. He's no Rican from Noricua. He's no you, no yo. No I, the I in I is the new no. I be some of that new no from Noricua, bro. I wanted to say hello to the Salcedos, but my hair was a mess. We were driven to the airport after performing the night before at a Hispanic festival in Columbus, Ohio. A salsa band from California and a poet from New York. Both Puerto Rican except for my hair. I'd gone too long between haircuts, undecided after a life of short hair whether I had what it takes to look good with long hair. That I possessed the physicality to balance my scrawny calves, which magnified with every pound I imagined if I had long hair. After years of Tang milkshakes and individually wrapped American cheese slices, would my non-existent upper body strength hold up to what I always envisioned? During this indecision, it grew quickly into one lump. My hair represented a non-body or dryness, unkept, almost hippie-like, something that just wouldn't sit too well with the busload of Boricuas I was riding with. Here were traditional Puerto Rican men, from 20 years of age to 60, very well groomed with gold watches and wisecracks. Here I was feeling out of place as my very non-Puerto Rican glasses kept slipping. I was having thoughts of fitting in or not. If you even have thoughts of fitting in or not, you don't. My beard may be trimmed, but my hair is disheveled. In my head is my entire conundrum. The rearview mirror exposed a rear view of who I was supposed to be in this Latino age. All because of my hair adding to my previously mentioned generally non-Puerto Rican look. Thing is, I'm the first to not want to fit in anywhere. When the moment you're in stops to surround you with memory and cologne, you take what's around you as immediate pass. Smiling into the future, flowing into the ebb. On a bus ride with my brethren, us Latinos, we are gracious in our handouts, unconscious demonstrators of our plight. Whether real or imagined, it's convenient to have purpose if there is plight. Old salseros never die, they just find another beat. I'm from here, they're from there. were brought to the middle of the land to show what the edges are like. Each coast represents an island of coasts, obscure, revolving around myself. I can see each of my coasts staring me back in the rearview mirror. An island of who I am, unsteady against the land I'm in. Puerto Rican men are all my father. There's no getting around that. I can't help it. I know it's not true, but the brain tells me what the music won't. And the music tells me now what my mother used to then, silent as the morning he died. All Puerto Rican men are salseros with impeccable timing, just like my father, finally taking me for a grown-up haircut the day before he died. Little 10-year-old Moptop, spending the afternoon with Dad, first and only time, meeting his grown-up friends at my uncle's store. I need to use the bathroom, I said. He winked at the men and told me where it was. I turned on the light. All four walls, the ceiling and parts of the floor were covered with pictures of naked women. There wasn't an empty space anywhere. Centerfolds, playmates, legs and hips and who knows what, a sea of flesh and glossy eyes watching me pee. I finished quick and came back to my father. He said, "How was it?" I said, "Fine." They all laughed. As we left for my haircut, he gave me a wink, letting his guard down for a second, just like all Puerto Rican men. And I used to believe I wasn't one because I was in touch with my feminine side. Each of my hemispheres fully occupied, unlike the uneven beauty of my father. I discovered that this world uncovered is like the soul of the Puerto Rican man, occupied by the weight of his balance between I and land. But my vision blurs as my glasses slip. I'm in regression against any liberation that's happened to the species since the day he died. I refuse progress because then everyone will have caught up to me. And where will I be? I'm here, as a Puerto Rican man of New York soul, representing my people by being who I am, confused and alienated by my own soil, which has now become my hair. Dirt speech, earth tongue, race to be language before nation. What space be racer if not nation maker, where two be one by race erasure? Heart speak in translation of nation chaser, each tongue be sacred nature licked, by liquidy creation, mere definition interferes. Because of its ubiquity, love is two lenguas. Every lengua should be bilingual. Unwelled, scalloped brain folds, gray ventricle skin, macroscopic why. Whyness bewills itself, wine into wellness. Why a well of what? A will upon a whip of what? A why machine. To why at those wooers, wishing wax at woe, be causing a cause of be, of is, of why be cause. Why is the way of where, of will with when? Why is my warning, my borrowed line come to life? My wested way, my easted mast. Why is the sun hole that flits me gregarious, questions me I? Why is the flit, the orange byway, forcing unwords from when? From why hole, followed by why is we, bewitched by when? Nomino domino, redefining the modern minority. Now, in the days of fluidity and los días de fluidez, it's harder to tell what is and isn't lo que es no es. Like, language be man como lenguaje ser hombre, and he white noise, ser blanco ser ruido, you know, invisible hombre. Or manaje invisible, or else take the example and make it a loop. El aso como el hace. Like, nom de plume becomes speech through free. Look at Amistad and how it, como es barco, ves libro, zong, ser canción, yes. Harder to say these days who is and isn't. Más difícil, quien es o no es gringo. Know what I mean? The way lingo flat used to be globe. Será mundo de balloon, go. Como forma como lingo, amigo green now swipe, amigo verde ahora swipe. Jihad at night, in sun, jihad, solo jihad. Look at mom, me dad, how cute. Ver papa said mama que rad. I don't mind, no me importa, changing thing, cosa por palabra, for word. Just wish desearía, could see, podía ver, without noise, sin ruido, or me, or yo, get in way. It seems the key is to write about listening to how you hear changes your rhythm. We are catching each other all the time. Sentient collectors of letting in, of parallel images of others to evoke others, of words. Then say it with me, all of this, how you write with no one there. It is a seismic narrative to palimpsest the narrative while suspending the narrative. I am connected to mysterious marvels of brain to hand, of blood to lung, of obviously fractured air, walking into the greater than, cicada land, the larger brood surrounding man, resurfacing perception by covering sound, borrowed by brood. Let me step into vibration, my porous narrative, my seismic narrative, what I do in my writing to cover a surface by motivating a surface. A constantly perceived surface. I am a recovering, finding new surfaces of brain to land. The action of borrowing, of burrowing, lowercase o to lowercase u, to burrow beneath what I borrow. I am the layer placed over myself, using the alphabet I was given. I come from the larger than. No size am I, no action to I, lowercase I. The uppercase belongs to us all, the lower to me. The action of burrowing as being the newly charged I. Seismic borrower of underground stories, of obviously fractured broods surrounding obviously fractured I. Earth turner earthworm, air turner cicada, water turner beaver. My totems of understanding have activated how I borrow where I belong. Sound turner poet, how we species into understanding to find where we belong. It took this long in my writing to arrive here, my totems of arrive here. It took that long in my being to narrative my sound. To narrate the sound. From the edges that inspire me, to the edges that surround me, to the edges that define me, I'm a land of no horizon. From the galaxies below me, to the galaxies above me, to the families inside me, I'm a man of no horizon. I want to speak American. I want to speak my island. I want to go where I can not. I want to reach no island. How do you speak no American? How do you speak no island? I want to know where I can go. I can speak no island. From the waters I was born in, to the borders I will die in, to the edges I imagine, I'm a man of no horizon. As I walk the open skyway, free of all I hold inside me, what I leave for those who love me, in the land of no horizon. I want to preach a miracle. I want to speak no island. I want to go where I can know. I want to reach no island. I want to speak American. I want to speak my island. I want to know if I'm alone. Are you the same as I am? Insemination of the avant-garde or weekend or Reinsertion of avant-garde Ricans, or re-examination of the downtown Rican, of the avant weekend, of the I want a Rican God, of the I woke up a Rican God, it got me a speaking God, got me hung up on a nation. Why we gets hung up, yo? White me gets hung up, yo. White me hands on something, yo. White man delusion, hung up on solution, got hung up on delusion, internet pollution. It's a little bit confusion, writing what I do, son, with last name intrusion, some last name dilution. My last name is my blackface, got blasted on MySpace, got erased by likeness, my weakness, my likeness. Skin's revolution, sin's evolution. Look at what I do, son, I'm white like you. Melanin ablutions, got melanin ablution. Staring at the clues. No one knows but you, man. No one knows a human. Hide behind the clues. Simplify the news. Another white man on the loose. Assimilate blues. The immigrants on you, son. The immigrant is you. Better border what you do. Your border's on the move. Boricua's on the move, son. Boricua's on the moon. Que viva Babalu, son. Que viva Babalu. I'm a man, mentira. I'm a man, bandera from the slum favelas of my campesilla. Sons of a nation, I'm a semen of a nation. Blood obliteration, chromosome improvement. Darwin opportunum, DNA the rules, son. DNA the pool. Demons in your school, son. Fight the fools. Bully's evolution, it's a bully's evolution. Night news, white on white illusion, why admit pollution? The future looks like you. Mercurial contusion, using words to bruise them, black on black and blue, man. Try to make it move, feel the darker part of you, see the master you. I'm a Noah with no clue, letting waters whistle through, letting wider ways come through, I'm a no one on the loose. What you gonna do, son? Better man than you? Intersect the clues, son. Internet the noose. You're hung up on the news, son. Hide behind the cues. Earthman delusion. I came to suffer humans. I came to suffer you. It's that guilt that built you. Guilt will trip you. Guilt will rip what you think you're built for. Guilt will milk you. Guilt will trick you. It's that guilt that built what you think. Resist, child. Might rule, but rights rule. Why man fool? No one knows but you. Three more left. To the under. Switching themes a little bit. If I whisper into your ear as you fall asleep the thing you know I love to say, do not worry that what I say will become permanent to the inside of your ear. If my hand should roam where yours invites, do not pretend that how you move will somehow lower my expectations to the inside of your ear. If hours pass and still the memory of that thing you do or did or want is lodged, while mine ignites, breathe, as I to you do too. The object of distance. Today, your mama waited for you to see her before she left the room. You made sure she was there, and mama made sure you could see her. She stood for a long time. You pointed at water and said that. She pointed at you and said, agua. She stayed in the room, you stayed in your spot, both of you frozen by each other, connected by something greater than water or agua or that. Both of you amazed by the air you were making when nobody moved. The space between, the object of distance, collapsed in one instant by your separation. How something could be formed by something unseen. How that stillness formed you, both of you. And now, a lifetime later, that same trajectory of something greater, forever connected by no one moving. Something greater in that distance, both of you, born over and over and over and over Did you in your long life leave any wonder behind? A burial chant for the Newburgh colored burial ground in Newburgh, New York. I was 21 and 2 children in 9 years. I was 80 in 22 married years in poverty. I was 27, 1 child aged and lived 10 years my senior. I was a bad intemperate and very bad and lived in reputation. I was 28 and 18 and deserted and sworn and relived and taken. I was 10, 4, 7 and deserted. I was a child of a brown age dependent for 2 years of the above facts. I was 36 and married and 3 childs and 15 and 8 lived with a husband. I was employed and 24 and the youngest sick. I was cold shovel and drive a hack. 24 and a wife and pleurisy in the head and 1 child assisted by 1 town. I was 1 mile beyond hope, no years, no cause. I was want of a morning. I was man to no owner, no purchase, no freedom. I was 104 yet living all kinds of 77 on 2 tons of coal. I was soot by the fairy gone wishes of mortals. I was 1 daughter supporting, I was living in what I was unable to visit. I was no means assisted near suckle and wand. I was married at 7, unable to 5. I was 4 years of applications, left home for another. I was single and 60, my mother, her mother. I was 16 years married and 2 with no lives. I was sick for 3 weeks, I was sworn and relieved. Intemperate and tamed, not able to luster, not to shine. I was made to be dyed by a winter. I was father and nothing, support for no cause. I was seen to the sick for 1 year at 18, aged 5 and 9 and 31 palsies. I was color and visit at 50 removed. I was color as long as I could. I was foot frozen switch kept from labor intemperate. Rheumatic in service about 20, about 6. I was all about cold. I was all about trees. I was 2 at my most about other. I was sworn and relieved. I was sworn. I was single and aged in vagrant povera. I was born, married, previously born, present consumption. 32 about 10, took 7, the elder at 21, aged son. The other emaciated, very always and poor. I was 23 and 2 and oldest and sick. I was sick, I was sick, I was sick, I was sick. I was 20 at 19, a girl of no habit, a habit to own. Of her residence, her reason, her rigor, her roam. I was youngest, a father deserted by age. I was younger, a family not able to question. In the town of Montgomery, in the town of Parameter, in the town of Volition, a seafaring man. I was 20, yet 40, yet 60, yet some sort of fever, yet married at 19, not able to bed. Improvidence delivered a child on its visit, a married arrangement of slaughter and home. I was 5 without burden, of 4 meant to 3. I assisted a season, receded by sin. I was married by 70 and 16 and 1, and of years I was lesser than, child of no soul. Made to apply as a lesser than. I was want of a man made of treasures and temperate. I was previous and former and able and firm. I was taken and little, a widower's urn. A seller's resistance, a house on a lot. I was wife and 2 children and paid for some medicine last week by the river. 28 at 21, I was 4 and then 9 of 2 years and of 6, 40 years and no children. I was 12 living 3 months in toes frozen sage. I was 55 years, 22 and a barber, unable to labor, uncolored by daughter. I was single, previously 2, worked, visited 16 and found intemperate. I was 31 towns of a grandchild's demistress. I was near the creek, open to poverty's drink. I was simple and labored, 12, 17, 27. On the 20th, I was born of supplies. I was poor of remember. I was bastard to 2, now pregnant by 1. And not sworn was a slave, man dead to the years. For 1 year my last, I was 1 year alive. About 6 in my pocket for winter's relent. By chargeable garret, I served what I sent. I was wife of a cook at the village hall bake. I was wife with the look of a villager's hate. I was 20, consumption was salvage and temperate, a widower struck, her summer son vagrant. Of 18-month plague of not child, 45, was a mortgage called Mr., paid interest on bond. 10 years and begged him his grandfather John. And no name was no difference for the offer gone past. I was forest and theft, gave provisions to last. A blacksmith by trade, 1 of 3 could not tell, any town of assistance of age where they fell. 68, 19, 21, on the plains at 14, I was sworn of a sister gone lame. To the amount of her husband, both tender and 6, not a cent owned, and left him the lot, bought twice, about 12 on the pike. I was application and rumor, I was 47, I was 45, I was 47, I was 45, I was sick, I should think, as deranged, no account, lately died, and given no previous I was. Before I was gone, I was good, I was blue, I was stone, I was blood, I was gone, I was gone. I was law on each page at the bottom, I was many years turned by the labor I sought. I was no means of country, I was color and caught. I was long time deserted, some 3 weeks employed. I was wood for the barber, I was born of resistance. I was drowned this morning, interred by a man. I was found of resistance, interred by a land. Interred by indifference, interned by a mind. I was punished at 20, I was waiter and kind.
Thank you. This has been terrific. Thank you. Thank you for all the students and the faculty who showed up for this wonderful event. I'm delighted to introduce our next speaker. But before I do that, I wanted to thank Dana Weidman for letting us use this space. As you can see, we are very lucky to be in this space. This is a collection of shirts in the exhibit, and they were created by survivors of abuse. So after we listen to our new speaker, take the time to really read some of the messages on this shirt so we can all learn and we can make life better for our communities. I am grateful for all of you who are here, and I'm delighted to introduce our next speaker, Daniel Villegas, who is a spoken word and bilingual MC from Colombia, based in the United States. His set references the Latin American experience and Hispanic culture. He also plays the conga, tying in the history from Africa to the diaspora of the Indigenous and Spanish influences. Thank you, Daniel.
Bueno. So my name is Daniel Villegas. I'm from Cali, Colombia, by the way of Warwick. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for doing your speech and sharing that work with us. So before I get into what I'm about to do, I'll let you know a little bit about myself, right? So I wasn't born in this country. I was born in Colombia. I came here very young, around 8 or 9 years old. So immediately when I got to this country, it was very difficult for me to understand English. I didn't speak it very well. But somewhere along the lines, it started to make sense. And in between, when I first heard my first poet, you can say, if anybody knows Mos Def, when I first heard my first rap song, I was like, oh, I think I found something that I could get into. So through that, I ended up getting into poetry, started writing. I went to school, got my bachelor's degree in theater and Latin American studies. So a lot of what you're going to hear today, I'm going to reference what it is to be a Latino. We're celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, which for me is all day, all year round, right? But for some who don't know the tradition or the culture, this is the time that you get exposed to it. So I want to break down, before I get on that drum, I want to break down what it is to be a Latino. So you understand the melting pot of what it is to be a Latino. Because of the transatlantic slave trade in the 1500s, a lot of Africans from the Congo, from Senegal, places from all Africa were brought into Brazil, South America, the Caribbean, right? And they were brought and they were enslaved. But what happened was, when they were brought over, you have a lot of the influences from the Spaniards and the Portuguese that end up mixing, right, with the indigenous people that were in those countries. And you get someone like me. 72% Spaniard, Portuguese, 27% indigenous, and somewhere around 5% African. So this is according to my DNA. Now, I knew there was something different about me when I was born, but I didn't know what it is. Sometimes we fight each other, right? Because like, oh, this person looks different than me. This person talks different than me. And I think when you're able to embrace how you look, from your hair to your eyes to your nose, you're able to embrace that in yourself. You're going to be able to embrace and love yourself more and love everybody else. So with that said, are y'all ready for a little bongo playing? Yeah. Yeah, all right, cool. So that makes some noise. That makes some noise. The more I so let me get doing that. All right, so this piece is called Never Forget Not Where You Come From. Now, a little history about the drum, right? The drum has three, according to a lot of the people from the Malian Empire in Africa, the drums have three things that are very important. Besides that, we have a heartbeat, our original drum. The drum has something called the skin, right? These skins are actually connected to the animal, so that's part of what it makes the bangles and the conga and the drum period so important. So you have the animal, the skin. Then you have the human being, the spirit. This bongo can't play itself. You need the actual human being to make it happen. And then you have the wood that connects us to Mother Earth, to this tierra that we're from, that connects us to all these things. So according to a lot of the Yoruba tribes, they believe that we are able to storytell through the drums, through our villages, through our communities, through what we experience, and through words. So it goes like this. Never forget the essence of the first drum. Actually first took your first breath, te quiero recordar de donde vienes. Let me remind you of where you come from. Te quiero recordar de donde vienes. Do you remember the first time you took breath and the universe actually spoke itself through your womb? Or should I say you spoke yourself through the womb of the universe para entender que la realidad de la vida, the significance of life is found in the drum. And how you move through the motions of the oceans of that which actually brings itself to existence. Quiero recordar mi tradición, my culture, of where it comes from. Mi patria africana, so yo toco. Of how we spoke ourselves into existence through our villages. Look and remember all that you've gone through to get to this point. How you traveled across the ocean to get yourself back here. They say that borders stop people from getting across to the other side, but I say we've been walking for thousands of years to get here. We don't just trace back to El Tierra del Fuego of how we got to Africa and actually brought ourselves back to Sudamérica. Yo quiero recordar that. I want to remind you the essence of the first drum. Okay, so I'm glad you're all here. It's a beautiful thing, one, to express and share a little bit about yourself, but it's another thing to be received, right? As a poet, we could perform all day long, but if people don't connect with us in the way that we have hope for, then it almost feels like we're talking to space. So it was great to thank you for bringing us out. Thank you for bringing me out. Dutchess Community College. I'm going to do a piece called Sky Language. Now this piece, the Egyptians understood this, right? Our connections to the stars. A lot of the people, like the Incans, understood this, our connections to the stars. The Incans believed that there are certain things that could move us through dimensions of things that exist in other planes. And they believed in totems like the jaguar, right? These are something that they believed that would help us, these spirit animals, to get through certain times. So a lot of these folklores are written in a lot of the songs that we hear. So I'm going to explain a little bit through this poem something called Sky Language, which is the language of how the stars connect to us. And it goes like this. Never forget not where you come from. Past Past, present, future hold the galaxy and then some, flying through flying objects. Optical illusions seeming opaque like flying targets. I ain't mad. I'm just telling you how I feel, walking through concrete jungles where people this real, losing the meal for mass appeal and still ready to deal. I don't throw rocks, but if I did, I'll break the glass ceiling. See me in a spaceship flying across Beijing, breakdancing geometric patterns to sign a sacred language that could be seen all in the sky, wondering why. Rulers gotta measure the line across time and space, seeing your pendulum slide, seeing fragments of walking soldiers walking amongst us with rifles and camouflage. A paradox for the ones that analyze the Avalon, seeing skyscrapers scrape Atlantis with analogs. We're living in the digital world. A paradigm for dogs that fly like automatons and marathons in a place where the space is grace. Constantly praying to keep myself in place. Like if I were my own drill sergeant. Shadows give light to my squadron. We move fast in the light despite the darkness. With bows and arrows to hardest. I'm breaking the bondage and any idea of being a slave. Cause in the mind, freedom moves in the mind when I'm trying to say every time para encontrar que la vida es como el idioma de las estrellas. It's like the stars speaking to us through our hearts. So I say, never forget where you come from. Past, present, future hold the galaxy and then some. Flying through flying objects. Optical illusions singing for all places like flying targets. I am mad. I'm just telling you how I feel. Walking through concrete jungles where people will squeal. Sky language. All right, so I got a few pieces I want to share with you, but I kind of feel like to freestyle. I feel a little improv. So I'm going to ask for 3 words from the audience, and we're going to create a poem on the spot. Being that it's Hispanic Heritage Month, if you can give me words that are along the lines of that, we see where this poem would go. So can I get one word?
English or Spanish?
English, sure.
Bliss?
Bliss. So we got bliss. Another word.
Pendulum.
Pendulum. Okay. We got bliss. We got pendulum, and one more word. Familia. We got bliss. We got pendulum, and we got familia. Let's see where this is gonna go. And it goes like this: bliss, pendulum, and familia. My grandmother told me that when I wake up in the morning that I have to actually look at myself in the mirror. She said the reflection of myself se encuentra en la familia, so I tell her that I actually got to explain myself so many times to myself that I actually don't understand why I look the way I do. She said que todos encuentran las venas, la sangre de tu familia. I said, la sangre de mi familia. What does that all mean? Where are we found? But sometimes I say that we move so much around that sound actually doesn't make frequencies. It signs back and forth like a pendulum. And there we can find that everything that we are, everything we've been, and everywhere we have gone for could only be found en este momento, aquí. La realidad en donde estamos, in this moment, right here, the reality of who we are. So what do? I expand my wings just to cover my people so they are reminded that even though they've been walking through a struggle, seeing roses grow through concrete, they can't forget that we are here for a purpose. And though sometimes that purpose may not be known because we look differently, I'm reminded again, staring at that mirror, the reflection of mi familia mirándome a mí, y me recuerdo. What was that other word? Yes. Me recuerdo. I am reminded that for us to actually be in bliss, we have to be alive and we have to search through the eye of the volcano. Even if it happens to erupt at times and our anger may move faster than our own minds. So I speak in sign languages because I know that I can find there within time the capsule what moves to quiero decir that bliss is not just a feeling, it's a way of being. So I open my way of being to you so you can see that the beauty of being in this reality is to exist and to remind ourselves that when you look inside of that mirror, you see the reflection of yourself and other people. Muchas gracias. Let me see. I think I got. Maybe let's see where we go. Okay, I'm gonna say I got this piece called Latinx, which is the struggle a Latino goes through when they're in the United States. But I'm going to save that one for last. I think I should end it with that one. So I actually got this one, this piece called Slam Poet. Or do we have any writers in the house? Any writers? Any poets? Any singers? Okay. Any professors? All right, cool. So this is dedicated to you all. This piece is called Slam Poet. A lot of the stuff that you're hearing, besides the improv, you can find on Daniel Villegas' music if you look me up on Instagram. And I just released an album called Evolution Gold that you can download on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you go. I'll mention that again in the end. So this piece is called Slam Poet, and it goes like this. I'm a slam poet that slams the land fluids. Hydrogen and oxygen mix the band carnage. I hand knowledge like wise man walking a golden road. Cause when the sun shines, we see what is valuable. Eyes open like map books. Whenever we I rap through the capsules in time. You can never stop being yourself, even when losing the signs, cause I understand sometimes they're hard to make out. Injustices sprout out like seedlings being watered from hate. So we combat that with love, even when we're not feeling great. I say know your worth. And then with people that lift you up. If we are indeed vibration, then there's no such thing as giving up. Because we all change from one form to another. I speak to my brothers that are locked in the pen. Writing bars from inside because no one can defend. I've reached so far back that I jump timelines. Time traveling through pages in my notebook, writing yesterday's problems with tomorrow's solutions. I'm complex. My content can consent to change the world through words. Whenever we're feeling offset, te quiero decir que mis palabras son como arcoíris que cambian de colores desde el alma. I want to tell you that my words are like rainbows, changing colors from the depths of my soul. Soul like that which we walk with soul. Soul like the sun illuminated the darkness. Darkness, you're not alone. So don't ever feel defeated. I used to think I could box with God, but then I realized my arms were too short and my anger was misplaced. Being judged as a child in the states where culture is abundant, but people may be quick to suppress you if they don't connect with you, so I stand in front of you, a Colombian, an American, a child of the earth, trying to remind you to go back, to where we first were when we spoke sound, words about thoughts with melodies already infused. Just look at all the earth languages. People of all sorts. So if I can tell you, que recuerde quién eres, to remind yourself of who you are, I would say, I'm a slam poet that slams the land fluids. Hydrogen and oxygen mix the band carnage. I hate knowledge like wise men walking a golden road. Because when the sun shines, we see what is valuable. Slam poet. All right, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do one from memory, and then we're ending with the last one. It goes like this. This piece is called Iron Poet. We'll see who knows a little bit of their Egyptian history. I'm going to tap into that. You know, it's a beautiful thing that happens when we as human beings open our hearts. Something that's very rare at times and very hard to do because we're always like, well, they might be judging me. You know, somewhere in our subconscious, we've almost been conditioned by society that we have to act a certain way with each other. And I have found, I don't know if this is me as a performer, maybe you find this too as a performer, that when you perform and you share that vulnerable part of yourself, there's magic that happens. And I feel like these walls just break. Doesn't matter where you're from, what have you gone through, what your parents have gone through. All that matters is that there's something in rhythm, there's something in words, there's something in music that connects us to each other. So this piece is dedicated to all the poets that are poets now or will be in the future, called Iron Poet. It goes like this. I'm the next Iron Poet. You can see me on mics. Because I'm going to do more thing than just bringing the light. I'm here to ignite like walking on lava. Elevating high like a spiritual conscious. My content can be considered the hardest. Just playing, no I'm not, but I hit like I'm August. The multi-syllabic metaphorical garden, my rhymes come fully dressed like a fashion statement. And still I got enough words to rip out pages. Melancholy, but only because I feel the faintest. Ideas spread out like a vegetarian blatant. So real and so raw like an invisible spaceship. And still I consider to be part of this matrix, where all is thought, but also backed up by some movement. Actions are actions unless you fully compute them. And despite all the heckles, I'ma push through the norm. Like a bodybuilder lifting up his back from the wall. I'm like Atlas holding the world on my shoulders in case I ever do fall. I walk in the sky and use the clouds as my phone. And in the middle of chaos, I create energy. Lightning straight from a raindrop as it keeps the letter G like God. Intrinsic in nature, sometimes cold like glaciers. But then I heat up like a volcanic crater. Bust the rhymes, I bust the rhymes whenever I intertwine Spanish with Catalan. They call me the Dalai Lama. Singing like, ooh la la la. That's the way that we rock when we're doing our thing. Ooh la la la. And still I bring historical truth like Egyptian Sphinx, known to hold roots, cause all that was water. Canoes and trade ports for the coming of time. And still I glow like the sun in my rhymes. I'm speaking sublime with lyrical heights. My canopy's my reality. When I casually clear out my odyssey, a commodity for economic anthologies is to be possibly like pottery, molded into greatness. When my apologies are nothing but hypotheses, okay, let me reorder my raps. I'm talking about raps like Cleopatra, raps like Erykah Badu raps, raps like MCs flowing on the Nile River. Either way, it's cool. Raps like Bohemian raps, and these my raps can breathe because they take form of their own. So let me kick this rap for the people at home. When my raps can be rapidly scattered into a rapid calories, or my rhymes are like batteries, or my flow like the lottery, 1 in a million. Words when I calibrate coliseums, or I meant to say coliseums. My words strike truth like a storm with a pile of felines. Yo, let me rebound back to the beginning of this poem. Because if you miss the purpose, then you're lost in the source. Or should I say lost in the sauce? Either way, I would end it like I'm fully alarmed. The command of my tongue when I sing it with songs. You see, our shadows can hold light, but it depends on the storm. Or should I say it depends on the poem. Either way, I rock mics like I'm back in the barn. I am poet. How you guys feeling? How you guys feeling today? Good? Good. It's a good day. The sun came out. You know, I was watching this thing on Instagram. The guy said, El Fuji actually said this. He's like, it's a good day when you wake up and you're not in a coffin. It's a good day when you wake up and you have breath, right? So just cherish your days. I'm not saying you live them like they're your last, or walk around saying, I don't know when my last day will be. But I'm just saying, recognize the potential that you have as a person, recognize the potential you have as a human being, and do what you gotta do, you know? Get your degree, get out there, work, and make a difference. And I think that's the best way we can contribute to life, is by making a difference. So, do we have any Spanish hablantes in here? Any people that speak Spanish? Oh, we got a few. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna do this piece in Spanish. It's called Hip Hop Poem. It's completely in Spanish. It's a hip hop piece that I'm gonna turn into a poem. So it's gonna have like a hip hop rhythm to it. Maybe I'll beatbox at one point and see how it goes. But this is dedicated to hip hop. Hip hop for me kind of saved my life. Once I was able to kind of identify myself with the culture and the importance of what it is to speak your truth and speak your voice. When I started writing, I was like, oh, I thought I wasn't that good. And then one day I performed at an open mic. I did this poem about America. And somebody came after me after, and I got off and I was like, you know, I was just learning how to perform. And the person came up to me, he's like, yo, I normally don't tell people this, but I was going through a very dark time. And what you said in that poem kind of gave me a reason to stay here on the planet. So I was like, oh, you never know how you're gonna reach somebody, is what I'm saying. So I found a reason. Besides that, I've been able to tour around the country. I've been in over 200 and something schools. I've traveled all around the world performing. And I think that blessing has come to me because I have realized the importance of sharing. So this piece is called Hip Hop Poema Iba Así. DJ! No, period. All right. ¿Qué más explico cuando digo lo que yo me siento? Miro adentro y veo que cambió como el tiempo. Las horas van contando los segundos y mis sentimientos. Cuando rapeo me vuelvo como un Iron Man. Volando por el cielo para sentir la rapidez. Me enfoco en las partes como un architect. Fluyendo con mis rimas para ser el best. Lo mejor es como viendo como una flor. Abre en la mañana y cierra con el temblor. La luna brilla fuerte con su resplendor. Del planeta cuando gira para ver mejor. La fuente como la mente si estás presente, lograr ser el presidente si estás decente. La gente que grita grillos como un grillo cuando están en un partido de fútbol no es lo mismo de ver hip hop actualizado. Se escucha en los barrios y los cigarrillos, no quiero droga. Sin embargo, uso mis palabras como estrellas para lograr la meta sin alcahuetas. Lo que sí es cierto, enfrentar la vida bien directo, bien directo. ¿Qué más te digo? Yo amo la vida como un pequeño, ojos abiertos y listo todo para cuando cambie el viento, imaginar todo lo que tengo adentro. Convertirlo en pura luz cuando yo lo siento. Puro amor para este hip hop es lo mejor. Punto a punto sin errores. El mundo entero quiero sanar como flores que cambian sus pedales con su buen humor. La fuente es el presente. El residente de toda la gente se siente la mente para por fin estar en paz con Dios cuando oro así. Keep the clock going, I'm a freestyle, yo. In the middle of Dutchess Community College, yo, be afraid the rhythm is real. Even when you copy the steel. Never doing what we do, never stop to just clarify. Listen to what we're about bringing it back. When I'm talking to the people, we just want to react. I want to be talking about the way the people bringing it back to you. So you know that you're right, because you really wear blue with that sweater. Look at we rock it like a flower on your shirt. You never stop doing because it helps. We gotta keep going, be on the dirt, in the road of my duties. This is what I'm doing. Never have I been in jail. Do I kick it for my ancestors to stay alive? Yellow on your hair, this is the way I survive. So you know that we can keep it in rhythm. Then now we know what the rhythm, what we're doing. We rock it just like a dog, do I keep it? Going in the middle of style, cause I be doing in my face, but I don't for a while. I can get that. El hijo, cambiando el idioma. Que vida lo que lleva aquí no es una broma. Solo sobre como todo when I'm rocking is real. Thank you, Dutchess County, for having me do this. No. You guys are inspired. All right, I'm doing my last piece. I'm gonna do this last piece. This is called Latinx. Orgullo en Dolor. You can find this. I play congas to this, and I have a singer who sings to it. So look it up, Latinx. Spotify is a dope poem. I think you guys will appreciate the history that's in it. So it goes like this. I'm changing my vision, just so that I can use it like index fingers, visually tracing history through a sketch of words that spell out my heritage. Hispano, Latino, Español, Portugués, el resultado del mestizaje, africano y indígena con lingüística sinodal de my peoples contando los tiempos seguidos like numberless days that are forgotten or unmentioned. To pay homage to the fallen angels like bricks off of monuments, because age is like the wind when life passes me by as time forces me to react to the numbness caused by these prejudice, racist, and stereotypical people that read in black and white, knowing that God's eyes are prisons. So to fix this sickness, truth is, we live in a multi-hue color spectrum, so let me readdress your misconception with quickness. Man walks land, adapts to environment, appearance change, the outcome a diverse man. So of course we're all different. Drop the belligerence and use your intelligence. What you're about to hear may cause some slight discontent. My skin is like that of sand scripted by the earth with the sun's nectar. So I swallow rocks and spit hardcore lyrics that mimic my emotions through the fruits of my labor. We are the children in the eye of the hurricane, sending messages carved by the ink of creation's imagination to avow while we stand. So no, I won't take Spanish or other. So no, I won't take Spanish or other when it comes to a box, because that's not who I am. And yes, I refuse to be your marionette moved on demand, so let me break it down to you like an abused wife who's fed up. Like a hungry wolf who's had the taste of blood in its tongue for 25 years and hasn't eaten a thing. Estoy listo to bury my teeth into the throats of estos incrédulos. See, I come from a place that offers more than its grace, but because of the inquisitor hangman system, free trade has already flourished. Because capitalism is nothing but short of a marathon, and it's running out of a race. The scrambles for Africa and South America's fate. The Iberian Peninsula is Mesopotamian scrapes. Asia is knocking. When burdens rise like sea levels, I keep the boat rocking. The same boat used by the Vikings. The same boat that traded slaves across the Atlantic. Now that same boat painted black stars for Garvey's indictment. Now that same boat lets immigrants in this American state that the underground is building railroads for freedom's escape. My parents' incantations have sufficed the will of God, so now humanity will listen. Like if we haven't been through enough. The reconquest, inquisition, and the media's bluff. In lines that pass out dates with hopes of green cards for a buck. We're in a truffle, but fingers can't pop bubbles when they're hallucinations. We all have relatives that have been stuffed like sardines into tin cans, and like the Tin Man, I too funnel the yellow brick road como si cruzan the border without water or food for days, just to make a minimum wage. Women sold for favors. Imagine yourself trying to sneak into your own home and then call it an endeavor. Now we're used as arteries pumping blood into the nation's exploitations of a nation losing patience. Fish eye shops captures another body dying. A peace of war, or war and peace, even dead presidents are crying, because that's what happens when sweaty palms grip the cash crop earned by the people. In touch with my roots, writing leaflets about the crossing of the Red Seas like the Hebrews. See, I come from a place where waterfalls project like natural breath, where dirt passes through metal wooden boxes, the conversion, bloody, indigenous sweat. So I saunter around like the Tupi Guarani. Write my tomorrows with my yesterday's lessons, so Latino, so don't get it twisted. My eyes have seen the coming of days where all the bickering and separatism ends, where we become one color, one people, all under one sun. So let me readdress my motive. So Latino. Africano con indígena lingüística mínima para traer mi esencia hispana al español, y por eso yo hablo. Soy orgulloso de ser colombiano, suramericano y de ser latino. Muchas gracias. Thank you for bringing me out. I look forward to seeing you guys again. Once again, you can find me on Instagram, Daniel Villegas Music. Send me a message what you thought. Download the album Evolution Gold, Daniel Villegas, and just keep learning. That's the best message. If you got anything out of today, anything at all of what was said between Torres' presentation and mine, I hope that what you got is that sharing is incredible and never stop learning. Thank you. Peace.
This was amazing. Do you have any questions for the poets, for the performers today? Because that's a form of love that you will probably want to be inspired by them and listen to their stories. So ask them questions.
He's like, nah, I've been sitting down all day. Come here.
Ask away, yeah. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
I want to jump on what I think it's important to understand, like the which I started in the beginning of my presentation, but what Daniel said beautifully, like poetry and the chance to perform and share the space is so important for your health, your mental health, and just to like not hold things in. And or to let them hold them in, but then eventually have them become something outside of yourself. Because you have so much more to give, so the more you can get out, the more will come through, you know.
This is really just more of a comment than a question, but I've been teaching poetry for the last month, and I've been trying to get my students to understand the importance of sound in poetry. And I just wish I could have gotten them all to come here and listen to this, because I think you really understand what it's talking about.
Well, a definite connection that we have is the sound and language.
Yes.
And how, like, I use a lot of rhythm and breaking apart my language, even though it's abstract or wherever it goes. There's a definite rhythmic propulsion throughout the whole thing, which Daniel speaks about beautifully. You want to talk about rhythm?
Sure. I was born with a conga drum in my mother's belly.
Yeah.
I was like, and I popped out. I was like, no, I'm not ready. So, yeah, the drums were the first thing I learned, even before I was writing, before I got into rap, before I got into poetry, it was drums. There's something about sound, right, that does something. We're called persons, right? Beings of sound, person. So we automatically move to sound and rhythm. It's part of us. So I think when you're able to understand language, because if you see how he phrases his words, right, when his rhyming pattern, when you're able to understand language and you can make it verse like that, then you're able to be like, okay, I just took language to another level. And you see how people react to it. So I don't have anything against literary poems. I think they're beautiful poems. Certain poems are meant to be read. Some poems are meant to be short, not like mine, they're like 10 minutes long. Some are meant to be short, and that's the beauty of poetry. But we have to remember, we are sonic beings. We move to sound. If somebody just said something and didn't connect with you, it's not necessarily you, and sometimes it's not them. It's that there's something in the frequency of sound that you're not connecting with. If you know what Kanye West was talking about, the 808s, what they do with music now, those tones, like in reggae or in hip hop and salsa, those tones are tuned to certain parts of our chakras. So we are immediately like, oh, I don't know why I like this song. This song is amazing. We start dancing. It's because they're hitting you on a certain sonic level. So.
And then to jump on that, it's also like how, like what you call the literary poem, to bring that idea, that experiential quality of the live setting onto the page is tricky, and it takes a long time to figure out how do I get across this rhythmic structure so that the reader can get it without never having heard me. So that takes a little while to figure out how much of myself am I going to put into words where I can meet you, the reader, like on the page almost. And I also think that sound is a mercurial entry, a mercurial portal into all our beings. You know, we really do kind of like connect to the world differently through sound. So to make language into sound is where we go beyond ourselves. And there's a reciprocal energy that goes back and forth that way. So.
I'm sure we both of you are way past this point, but I think it's worth asking. How do you get over the fear of not being good or of judgment from others when you're performing pieces?
Great question.
Oh man.
Fantastic question.
The second poem I read about the Salcedos, I said, you know, if you even think you have a question about fitting in, you don't. So it's a private joke that in effect, like we never really fit in, and own that. So the not fitting in is just being who you are, being individual. What Daniel was saying, just being who you are. I don't know, it takes a while, it takes a lot of bravura to kind of like know that not everybody is going to get what we're putting out. But there's a calling. I feel like I need to. I'm sure you feel you need to like be here and share. Hopefully you get it, but if not, I'm pure. You know, our presentation is like we really mean it. As abstract or narrative as we become, like it's important for us to be here sharing with you. To your point, you may not get everything. It's okay for me. You know, we're putting ourselves out there. You know, what do you think about vulnerability?
That was great. I think that the question was fantastic, and I love the way you explained it. The way that I've been able to overcome that is you have to be okay with feeling silly. You have to be okay when you first start rhyming that you think it sucks, so you're radically going to judge it. And you have to do two things. You have to be like, well, this is the best thing I've ever wrote, and so what? You know, you have to be like that. And then also be okay with like it not making sense. Or you have to be happy in the moment of like, oh man, I might say something stupid. So what? So what? Like the world doesn't end because you said something that embarrassed you. You know, so you have to be courage. You have to have enough courage to be like, you know what? I'm gonna try to rhyme faster than Daniel. And if it doesn't make sense, I'm gonna be all right. And you will be all right. You will get through it. Because remember, I didn't speak the English language. And the way I first started to speak it was I was making sounds because I couldn't understand how to put it together. Then when I learned it, I was like, oh, this is what English resembles, like the idea of the language, right? Because we have all these European languages that have moved through so many places. So for me, it was just being okay in my skin. Being okay that if I go somewhere and I do a poetry slam and I get a 2 and everybody gets a 10, then I'm like, yeah, but I hit that too hard. I hit that too hard, you know? So you have to also be the person that pats yourself on the back.
I have a follow-up question. They actually story poetry slam?
Huh?
You poetry slam for story?
Yeah, oh yeah. David spoke. So I've ran 2 different styles of poetry slam. One is through Out of 10, which the history of poetry slams comes from Chicago. You know, yeah, right? They were at a bar and they were doing poetry and some people were drunk. Yeah, right. And they just started scoring them. So we get this idea of poetry slams from 1 to 10, judging on different variables. The way I've done it is I've judged on creativity, I've judged on delivery, so all these different things you can judge on. But yeah, poetry, they're scored and people go hard. People go hard.
I've seen video, I've never seen online, but I've seen videos.
You guys should do one here. You guys should do a poetry slam.
Why did you choose poetry over like music, like making?
Why did I?
Yeah.
No, I love the drum.
Yeah.
So I started off drumming as a child, right? I was in church. I went from the bongos to the congas to the drum set, and anything that could make sound, and I learned how to play. Then I got into writing because I don't know what led me into writing. Maybe because I was one of very few Latinos in my school, and I felt this need to like represent my culture. So I was like, well, no one understands me when I'm walking around with, my traditional clothes from Colombia. I was like, maybe if I write a poem, they'll get me. So I was in English class and they were doing something on Shakespeare and I wrote a poem and people flipped. I've never written a poem before and they flipped. They were like, oh, because I was the quiet guy that never spoke. And all of a sudden they're like, yo, this guy's here screaming at the top of his lungs a poem. So that's how I got into writing. But, with the death of my grandmother, she lived up to 98 and she used to play the folkloric traditional guitars. Something in me said, you need to get back on the drum and you need to put it part of your set. So a lot of places I usually bring my two big guys, the congas, and I play Afro-Cuban rhythms and I play African rhythms, guaguancos, salsas. So I play all those because I also feel the need to play. Like there's something when you play and there's no words. There's a beauty also, right? When there's no words, there's just silence. So I actually do both.
Okay.
I got a sense that from both of your performances that the way you use language is that they're almost like doors, right? That you see where the words take you, and then it's an opportunity to explore so much about yourself, but not only yourself, all that, just thinking about profound connections. Those doors lead to these connections of history, of the universe, of what we sense of the universe, and how that shapes everything around you, but also you at the same time. And I thought that's an incredible way to think about language as well, but I thought also that language is music, right? So it's not language and music, it's language is music, because you tap into the cadence of the words and exploring the different cadence of words in the different languages as well at the same time. And so I thought it was extremely musical, just the words themselves.
Well, the territories I think that poetry covers go beyond geography. They kind of, they definitely begin with the chakras, with the body, but also, it's a real, it's very humbling because there's a lot of power to the words. Look at politics, there's a lot of power to what you're saying and how it's being said. So being from a hybrid, being from, a New Yorican, that space between Spanish and English has always been a fuel for me to kind of like see where can I go with language, even using English, that's not Spanish, but I was reassembling syntax and on purpose. Like the poem about why and be will, I did that purposely because it's like, what is this about? But there's a rhythm in there. And it's like, there's a connection to somewhere beyond that poetry takes me that I want to share with everybody. And to do that, and to also talk about where I'm from, to talk about where language can take me, but also to give you a chance to create your own beyond. So very much like the power of poetry and language to reassemble definition and meaning is a real, that kind of goes a little bit to the not care, to being vulnerable. This is, I'm presenting this collection of words through my mindset. Because I believe in it, hopefully you'll believe in it in your own way. And you'll go wherever you want to go. We're kind of giving you a road, a path. And not necessarily telling you where to go, but that you can go. There's a possibility there. So.
Any other questions? Like what my favorite color may be?
Oh, and I want to say, Speaking of colors, this is an incredible show. You know, a freestyle would have been interesting of like taking like words from everyone like walking around, because it's a beautiful idea and beautiful presentation. So it's really incredible to kind of be in this. There's a lot of energy. I mean, I think art does that anyway in an art gallery, but to have art that has text and has language and has everybody else's history literally, you know, hanging in front of us, is really powerful. Like, we can be silent and there's a lot of people talking already, you know. So thank you for that.
Before everyone goes away, I just want to remind you of upcoming Hispanic Heritage Month events. So next week, we have an evening of conversation and music with Mexican composer Iqbalam Moiron Castillo. He's a composer, lives in Jalapa, Veracruz, Mexico, and he studied, of course, jazz composition at La Universidad Veracruzana. And he's going to talk about the linkages between the traditional music of Veracruz, son jarocho music, and jazz music. So exploring the history of the peoples that have created these traditions of music, and talking about those powerful linkages. And he's going to perform some of his own compositions, which actually use traditional Mexican instruments but it's totally inspired by jazz improvisation. So hopefully you'll join us. That's next week, Wednesday, October 16th, 7 p.m. to 18:15 p.m. This will be live streamed because he's in Jalapa, Veracruz, and the link is on the brochure, sunidutchess.edu live. So please try to make it for that one. You can ask questions and comments on the college's YouTube site if you just sign up, if you're subscribed to it. And also, the last event, musical concert, Juntas Chicas, that's Thursday, October 31st, 12:30, 1:45 in Washington Quad. This is a female-fronted group. They bring together various genres of music from the Americas, and and they also combine dance. So please check this out. This will be outdoors, hopefully, weather permitting. If not, we'll be in the cafeteria. So hope to see you there. Okay, thank you.
Well, before we answer,
Yeah.
if you had an extra hand and a sort of young, and you could carry a chair out to the trolley outside, it would be really helpful.
I also have some extra brochures of Hispanic Heritage Month, so if you'd like to get a copy.